Hey, Crush Talk fans, ready for another deep dive? Today we're getting kind of touchy-feely.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the power of touch, specifically how those subtle gestures can really spark a connection with your crush.
I'm intrigued, and we've got an awesome source breaking down 7 coveted places for touch. But before we get into it, I got to emphasize something. This isn't about manipulation or anything like that. Respect and genuine connection. That's what Crush Talk is all about.
Couldn't agree more. It's about understanding those little nuances of touch, how it can build a bond, but always with consent and respect.
Okay, good to clear that up. So let's jump right in. The first area is the lower back. I've always thought a gentle touch there was a sweet gesture, especially in a crowd. But what's your take on it? Why can it be so powerful?
Well, think about it. The lower back, it's a vulnerable area. And even a light touch there can signal subconsciously, protection and support. It's like saying, I've got your back, without actually saying it.
That makes a lot of sense. It's more than just guiding someone. It's creating a sense of safety, a deeper connection.
Exactly. Picture this. You're at a concert with your crush. Music's blasting, crowds crazy. That gentle hand on their lower back as you navigate through. Incredibly reassuring. It's like you're saying, I'm here for you without saying a word. Just a little touch can make a big difference.
I love that example. It shows how much we can say without actually, saying anything. Now, this next one surprised me. The nape of the neck. It's not exactly a place you'd casually touch someone, is it?
Yeah, you're right. The nape of the neck, it's super sensitive, both physically and emotionally, so you gotta be extra respectful, aware. But a light caress there, done right, man, it can be electric, like tapping into a vulnerability and creating a spark.
Wow, okay. I can see how it could be effective, but also how it could easily be misinterpreted. Gotta be super careful with that one.
Absolutely. Not a touch to be used lightly. You need to be sure there's trust. Read their cues, and then you can use it to deepen that connection. Imagine your crush is telling you a story. You just gently brush a stray hair away from their nape as they speak. Such a subtle gesture, right? But it shows you're present, engaged. It creates a feeling that words just can't quite capture.
I'm getting it now. It's not just the touch itself. It's the whole context, the intention, the dynamic between you two.
That's it. It's fascinating. We're not just talking about physical touch. We're talking about attraction and connection, a whole unspoken language.
So moving on from the neck, which seems to be a high stakes area, let's talk about the arm. I feel like that's more common, especially during a conversation. But even then, is there a right and wrong way to do it?
Definitely. Touching someone's arm can really enhance the closeness you feel when you're talking, but it's all about being natural and subtle. You don't want to grab them or hold on too tight, just a light touch to emphasize a point. Or during a moment of laughter.
Like when you're both laughing at a joke and you just kind of naturally touch their arm for a sec. Feel spontaneous, connected to what's happening, not like you're forcing it.
You got it. Mirroring that emotional energy, using touch to create a shared experience. Speaking of which, let's talk about the knee. Our source calls this the Netflix and chill touch. The movie date scenario, but it's not necessarily about overt flirting, right?
No, I think it's more about creating that relaxed, comfortable intimacy when you're sitting close together. A subtle way to acknowledge the shared experience without being too forward.
Exactly. Like you're watching a movie and there's a super tense scene, that light brief touch on the knee, it can be a way to offer support or just share a moment without interrupting the movie. It's subtle but powerful.
Okay, so far we've got the lower back, the nape of the neck, the arm and the knee. Each touch with a different meaning, a different level of awareness and sensitivity needed. I'm already seeing touch in a whole new light. It's not just a physical thing. It's a way of communicating, a way to deepen that bond. And you know what? We're just getting started. We've got 3 more areas to cover, and I'm sure they're going to be just as fascinating.
We're back to Crush Talk, unpacking even more of this power of touch. And trust me, there's so much more to discover.
Oh, I believe you. Especially after that last segment, touching the knee during a tense movie scene. Mind blown.
Right. It's all about those little unspoken cues. And that brings us to the waist. Our source actually links it specifically to dancing.
Okay, I love dancing, but I've never really thought about it like that. What's the big deal about a hand on the waist?
Well, think about dancing. It's all about that balance between leading and following, trust and connection. When you put your hand on someone's waist, you're not just guiding them. You're creating a point of connection, physical and emotional.
So it's like a silent conversation, communicating through touch and movement.
You got it. Picture slow dance, dim lights, your hand resting gently on their waist. It's a moment of shared vulnerability, intimacy. Without saying a single word, you're saying, I'm comfortable with you, close to you.
Wow, that's beautiful. It takes a simple dance to a whole other level.
It's true. There's
But-
just something about physical touch that goes beyond words.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of touch that speaks volumes, let's talk about hand holding. It's classic, but it never gets old, does it?
Never. Why is that?
Well, when you reach for someone's hand, you're literally extending yourself,
Yeah.
offering a connection. And when they take your hand, it shows trust, reciprocity, a willingness to be vulnerable.
It's like saying, I'm here with you. I want to walk beside you, both literally and figuratively.
Exactly. And even just a little squeeze of the hand can convey so much comfort, reassurance, affection, all without saying a word. Imagine walking hand in hand with your crush on a cool fall night. There's something special about that warmth and connection, isn't there? Absolutely. It's like knowing you're not alone, someone's there with you, sharing the journey.
Now, get this. Our source says the wrist. The wrist is the most romantic touch point. Even mentions a gentle kiss.
Whoa. Okay. Definitely not a first date move.
Probably not. But imagine this. You've just had an amazing date. You're saying goodbye, holding their hand, and you gently raise their wrist to your lips for a quick kiss. It's a lingering touch that speaks for itself, but it's got to feel natural, consensual right from the moment.
It's all about that balance, isn't it? Knowing when it's okay and when it's not.
Yeah.
That's what makes this so important to talk about. We're exploring the nuances of touch, that unspoken language, because it can build connection, but it can also make someone uncomfortable if it's not right.
You're so right. It's about being mindful, intentional, knowing that every touch has a message, and making sure that message is genuine.
So much to think about. We've covered so much. The lower back, the wrist, and everything in between. I'm seeing touch in a whole new light now. It's not just physical. It's powerful communication. It can deepen intimacy, build lasting connections. And there's still more. We'll be right back with some final thoughts on how to turn those subtle touches into meaningful connections. And we're back, wrapping up our Crush Talk deep dive into the power of touch. I feel like I've learned so much about those subtle connections.
Right. It's amazing how much we can say without even opening our mouths. Touch is a powerful way to express those feelings, especially when it comes to attraction and intimacy.
That's what I love about this whole conversation. We're not trying to trick anyone into liking us or anything. It's about building a real connection. By understanding those nonverbal cues, it's about respect,
Right.
reading the signals, and using touch to enhance that bond, not to manipulate.
Exactly. Being mindful and intentional with our touch, knowing that each gesture carries a meaning, and making sure that meaning aligns with what we really feel.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave our Crush Talk listeners with a challenge. Pay attention to touch in your own life. How does it make you feel when you give it and when you receive it? And think about how you can use it to express your feelings in a way that's authentic and respectful and real.
And remember, building a genuine connection takes time and effort. Touch can be that spark that ignites something deeper, but it works best alongside open communication, shared experiences, and a genuine interest in getting to know the other person.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the lower back to the wrist. And I don't know about you, but I'm seeing touch in a whole new light now. It's not just physical. It's a powerful form of communication that can deepen intimacy and build those lasting connections. So go out there, Crush Talk fans, and use what you've learned. Turn those subtle touches into meaningful connections. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on turning your crushes into conversations. Until next time, happy crushing.